I'll just read you in part what she says. Jordan Neely, that's the name of the decedent, was murdered. But because Jordan was houseless and crying for food in a time when the city is raising rents and stripping services to militarize itself, while many in power demonize the poor, the murderer gets protected with passive headlines and no charges. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. She goes on from there. It wasn't a murder. A murder is an intentional killing of another. There's clearly no intent by this Marine to kill this man. But the thing about it, Mark, is she and others intentionally ignore the fact that for the umpteenth time, this guy Neely was on board a subway train, actively threatening, not just yelling, threatening the passengers. And he had hurt others on the subway before, in the not too distant past. He had just gotten out of prison recently for assaulting a 67-year-old woman, fracturing her orbital bone, breaking her nose, causing head injuries, and so on. He had just been arrested again this past February. He'd hurt a lot of people, but we're supposed to pretend he's still the Michael Jackson imitator that used to perform on the subway tracks 10 years ago.
No, and you say all that, and that would apply, Megyn, if we were in a rational system of justice, which Democrat cities aren't anymore. They all operate far more on the basic Leninist principle of whom. This is a black homeless man, and so that, by definition, puts him in the victim category. And if I were the guy who'd put him in the chokehold, if I were advising that guy, it's a bit late for that now, but I would have told him to hop in the back of the pickup truck and I'd drive him across the border into Canada, because it's doubtful if they do decide to go ahead and prosecute him, whether he can actually get a fair trial. It's not a George Floyd case, but it's part of the consequences of George Floyd, which is that Democrat cities across the United States have become increasingly lawless. And basically, when you're on the subway, you're on your own down there. We've heard all the stories about people getting thrown in front of the tracks and all the rest of it, and there's no law down in the New York subway at the moment. And actually, I would say there's no law even in Midtown Manhattan. Back when I used to guest host for Tucker Carlson from New York, I used to stroll the 2 or 3 blocks from my hotel to Midtown Manhattan. Never bothered with the car service. I'd just walk up 6th Avenue, and then when the show was over, I'd walk back at night and be quite happy to pose for selfies and things with people. You never know now, in these Democrat-run cities, the point at which it's all going to go south for you. So it's all very well to say, oh, well, he was just goofy and he was shouting and he was excited. He was just a poor homeless man. There's no need to go and kill him. You never, unfortunately, the reality of American cities, and it should embarrass the Democrat Party. I don't even know why they're actually talking about this, is they've rendered them lawless. They've turned them over to, and you're supposed, and then if you have to make a calculation, you've got a split second to make a calculation about whether this guy is just a harmless nutter or he means you ill. And then somebody like AOC from behind her entourage gets to second guess you. It's disgusting, that.
Absolutely right. So well said. The guy who took some of the video that we've seen, he filmed part of the encounter. His name is Juan Alberto Vasquez. He's a freelance journalist. He told the New York Post and WNBC that this homeless guy, Neely, came on, started making a speech, started screaming in an aggressive manner. This is a third-party witness. He doesn't have a dog in this hunt. Said he had no food, I have nothing to drink, I'm tired, and I don't care if I go to jail. Then Vasquez told WNBC that Vasquez was scared and that others on board the subway were scared too. They could tell that he was behaving in a threatening manner, and that had been a long thing for him. He has a long history of doing that, at least 42 arrests for this guy over the last 10 years. Just to get the chronology right, the New York Times says, last arrested November 2021 for hitting that 67-year-old woman in the face. Before that, June of 2019, arrested for punching a 64-year-old man in the face during a fight in a subway station in Greenwich Village. In August 2015, arrested for attempted kidnapping after he was seen dragging a 7-year-old girl down a street. He pleaded guilty to endangering the welfare of a child there. This was not a well person. This was not sweet Michael Jackson imitator. His own grandparents, with whom he spent most of his time, when he did try to find housing, would not let him inside the house at night. So dangerous was he. He threatened to kill his own grandfather repeatedly. He'd been sent to Bellevue for psychiatric services time after time, said he was schizophrenic, said he was hearing voices. The city ultimately failed him, in every single way. Just now in New York, Mark, we have a mayor and sort of the governor saying, maybe we should be more open-minded to involuntary commitment for people like this. And all the local officials beneath the mayor are saying, absolutely not. The left is saying, absolutely not. You can't affect their civil liberties. But now that he's dead, they want to protect him.
Well, what I find interesting about what you just said is that if you're just haphazardly following this story in the media, the Michael Jackson impersonation stuff is the only bit you'll take away. have no interest in the guy's Michael Jackson impersonation. I don't know whether he's doing the bad stuff. I don't know whether he's doing the early Jackson 5 stuff. Oh, look there, I was completely wrong on both counts. He's doing the mid-period thriller moonwalk stuff.
Right.
Who the hell thinks that this is actually the salient point of this story? Now, that 67-year-old, if you're hit at the age of 67 by a big, powerful guy like this, you're not kind of quite 100% for the rest of your life. That actually is something you live with, even if you survive it, even if your injuries are superficial, there are consequences to that will stay with you forever. Yet the fact that he's still, it's a thriller, beat it, Ben, the two of us need look, whatever Michael Jackson, why is that the only angle? Because, as I was saying earlier, it goes back to, there's an approved victim class and approved predator class. So the Marine who tackled him means that this guy is in the designated victim class. And as I said, the point is you have a split second to decide. Is this guy just good? Is this that charming, delightful Michael Jackson impersonator I saw 2 or 3 years ago? Or is this guy actually going to slug a little old lady in the face? You've got a couple of split seconds to decide that. And none of the people weighing in on this, AOC, the governor, the mayor, they're never going to be down there in that situation because, unfortunately, in this country, we're bifurcating into a Latin American style society where there's the ruling class behind their entourages with their private security teams, and then there's the great big mass of the rest of us who have to take our chances where we can.
Exactly right. The New York Post, Nicole Galinas, has an article dated yesterday saying Neely's life mattered, and so did the lives of the 27 other people violently killed on the subway since March of 2020. 27 other people. She points out that this city councilwoman, Tiffany Caban, is out there alleging that this is racist, that this is wrong, that this is murder. And this is the same person who, even as 4 people were killed within a month last fall on the subway, including this union steamfitter who had 2 kids. He was on his way home from work, a city field worker, similarly, on his way home from work late night, dismissed concerns about subway violence back then, calling these 1 in a million events. So 1 in a million. Yeah. Okay, how about this? This is not one of them. You don't care about the 27 others. This guy, why? It's solely because of the racial element. Experts say that China is hoarding a massive amount of food. They will soon have over 2/3 of the globe's corn reserves, over half of its rice, and over half of its wheat. But when asked about it, China misleads. One China expert says that they, of course, would never admit to something like that. Well, what does China know that we don't? When it comes to global food shortages, China is the canary in the coal mine. You see, China's the world's #1 food importer. They rely on the rest of the world to keep their people fed. So they cannot afford to mess this up, or there could be riots or civil panic or worse. That's why it's a smart idea to stock up on your own. on a kit of the best-selling 4 Patriots survival food. Create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriots survival food kits. Hand-packed in the USA, the kits are compact and stack easily. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, and their 5-star reviews on the website rave about the flavor and the taste. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase of 4 Patriots survival food by typing in the code MK at checkout. Go to 4patriots.com, use that code MK and get your 10% off your first purchase of 4 Patriots survival food. Again, that's 4patriots.com, use that code MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.